in order at 5:30. Any adjustments to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 30th.
I'll second that, I guess. And any further discussion, changes, corrections? If not, all in favor? Aye. All right. We get that done. What else do we have? Town hall painting?
Well, I know we talked about it last time, but I had a conversation with Josh the other day. We were talking about timing of the painting.
Mm-hmm. It is August.
So I don't know, would it make more sense to do it in the spring?
It does at this point.
Well,
Realistic,
especially since Cynthia was
unless
saying,
you got somebody, lined up and ready to roll.
yeah. But Cynthia was saying that there is some grant money for weatherization and stuff.
That would be very wise.
So it would be too bad to
miss out on it.
well, or to do painting and then
Right.
and then because the deadline you said is like by the end of the
deadline
year.
to do the work is the end of the year, but we are having an energy audit next year, which is a next week, which is a requirement of this grant that Daniel submitted the grant application. Feedback came back that we needed an energy audit. And there was a lot of discussion between the two of them about the project, and the project has to be completed by December 31st.
How much money is it?
Well, I mean, what was identified in this building was I can't remember the exact number, but it was like $25,000, $30,000 worth of work. The grant specifically that we applied to was $10,000, but they said that there's other things that we might be able to incorporate with it. So I think Daniel's working with them to see, it may end up just being the 10,000 and we get the front door fixed and do some stuff in the bathroom. There may be some smaller stuff that gets done, but we just don't know that right at this point. So.
Yeah, once again, why aren't we done just stripping the walls in that bathroom and insulating it properly?
And we may after this is done.
Ultimately, I mean, just even doing one room.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's right. I mean,
Right,
I totally
right,
understand what the guy was saying about that not being, but if we need that room warm.
Well,
then,
his world is the cost to benefit ratio.
yes.
This world that we're living in is a little different. So I think that that's what was brought, that's what Daniel and I kind of discussed, and then once I said that we had a deadline of the grant application, he put something in there and then some feedback came back. So we'll just.
Yeah, I think the door would be good. I mean, the other thing that I think, as far as cost effectiveness, I would have to guess, since we don't use the upstairs at all, and I can't imagine we're going to anytime soon, that really properly doing, like we did, well, not necessarily drop.
Not a drop to drop in the sense that we
dense packed
enough
cellulose.
room to pack this in here.
Or
and
even
that we
in the
need to
joist
remove.
cavities that are existing. You know, do what we did in the Lister's office last year. I would think that would make a huge difference in this.
So we'll see what comes out of that. But as far as whether there's going to be anything done to the outside, the exterior of the building during that, I have no idea. So it's one of those things where you wait. Yeah. So it was more a timing of the request for painting hasn't gone out yet, and now we have this in the middle of it. So will it hurt? I mean, to just hold off until.
It doesn't seem to me that
I
other
could send
than
it out now for a spring bid, for a spring project. I mean, people could bid on it or even wait another month maybe, and when people are slowing down and they have time to write up a.
It wouldn't be a bad idea because people, to be able to line something up in advance.
Absolutely, have a first, jump on the
Something
spring.
to jump on it, exactly.
And
So
if I
maybe line up just in my schedule to just send out the request for bids. Maybe in October for a spring project. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay.
I mean, I don't think anything is so bad about it that I don't think we're
No,
causing damage by not doing it.
No.
So
It'll a little more paint will flake off.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. A little more will be looser before they scrape it.
5% more will have fallen.
That just gives me a little bit more time too to try to get through some of the other stuff that I've got going on and working on. So okay, so
And we have some paperwork to sign for,
Yeah, I'll do a complete write-up of and send it to you, and you can just tell me if it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically high-quality latex primer and 2 coats, like 2 finish coats. You know, scraped to raw wood where. Chipping and flaking.
Loan paperwork. So,
Do we need a motion on this?
yeah, I would say so. Motion to, let me just read this paperwork.
Okay,
So we have,
we already motioned all this? This is just the,
no, this is the borrowing for the refurbish of the fire engine, and it's a new loan. So, we need to approve the capital improvement borrowing for that, and then sign this paperwork. Anita has it all. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the capital improvement note for the refurbishment of the fire truck. For, in what time period is this?
It's 5 years. It's
It's
a
5
5-year
years.
borrowing.
At a fixed rate of 2.11?
Uh-huh.
Amazing.
yes,
Don't you wish you could do that?
Oh, it's not really for you.
I'll second that. And if there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. All right, got ourselves a rebuilt fire truck on the way.
He should be going down, I want to say it's scheduled for the last week of August.
Florida, you said?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
And he's
fly
driving
down.
it back from Florida, or is he bringing it back on
Yeah.
a vehicle? They're driving it.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe if Nate really enjoys the trip
Oh.
to Denver.
He probably would want to go do that, which is
That's a boring drive, I have to say, from Florida.
In a fire truck.
With Tom.
Route 95. Oh, good point. Okay.
I'm sure there'd be some stories they could tell, the
Yeah.
two of them when they went together. Oh boy.
It's just 95.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
it's like,
Here's your truck. Here's our truck. Better back roads. Actually, I was surprised today that I had to kind of take a little spin around just before I came in to see how roads were looking. It was quite a deluge we had that way.
You're having some mechanical problems tonight. Okay, so I had brought to you a few weeks ago, or maybe the last one, I can't remember, a Better Back Roads grant that we got for the road and culvert inventory. So we signed that grant. They're giving us $2,993. I've since gotten an agreement from Wyndham Regional for them to be contracted to help us do the work, which was all part of this process. They've agreed to do it for $2,500, which is what they had said, because we have a match. We have to pay a 20% match. So this is just giving me the approval to sign this contract between Wyndham Regional, and there wasn't any surprise in here for me. And then we, Brian, Matt Mann, and myself will be meeting the 28th to come up with a schedule of when this is going to get done.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So moved.
Did you just move that?
I moved it. Approved.
Okay,
Sign
all
it.
right, okay,
Yeah.
that's what it was. I'll second that. And if any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just want to update you guys on a couple things. One of them, our source water protection plan. Every 3 years we have to update it. I just got we have somebody that's working on it for us through the Vermont Rural Water. and she sent it to me today. I've read it over. I'm distributing it. I don't know. Do you guys want? I don't know what happens if the board has to approve it. I don't know what the process is. I'll send it to you through email. If you want a hard copy, I can get you a copy. It's like 54 pages long. So
The only reason I'm gonna ask you to get a copy of it is I have a feeling that's gonna be something that comes up with the
Wilson
with
Wetlands.
the Wilson Wetlands.
I did
slash
send Ann
Conservation
Perry a
Commission,
copy.
and I'm anticipating, you know, some frantic call from Ann.
Yeah, I did send her a copy. I just
I
emailed it to her to
might
let
as
her
well have the
know.
facts.
Yeah,
And that sounds like a piece of paper I'm not gonna wanna sit in front of the balancing the computer on my knee.
yeah.
It sounds like,
So I'll get you a copy. Yeah,
it sounds like couch reading.
yeah. I just read it tonight, and it's pretty straightforward. But
Oh.
I should at least. It's very easy. I mean,
Yeah,
you'd think that
actually.
something like that would be really like technical, and I would skip over a lot of it, but it's not really. It's really.
That's well, they've got a good writer then, in that case, you know,
Yeah,
that they've been
that's
able to
pretty
make it sound tolerable. I mean, it doesn't have to be complex, it is a fairly
Yeah,
complex.
it doesn't feel like it is to me.
Biological and geological system, but it's.
And I don't know if you guys have had anybody talk to you about the guardrail. Did I talk to you about that the last time? The guardrail up in the corner by Alice Mays and the pub. When the state came through and did their paving project, the guardrail was replaced 3 weeks ago maybe. On the south end, they did like this.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, where nobody can get through. The pedestrians can't get through because it's curved. It's
Yeah,
like this,
I did notice that.
and here's the path.
Yeah.
So we're asking them to take off this section so that pedestrians can go.
Just do one of the right loop
Yeah.
things.
It is an act of Congress
Sure.
to try to get that done because they have to have a.
16
I've been
different
getting
people
a
have
lot
to
of
sign
pressure.
off on it.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of pressure from people in that area. I've been getting calls from Landmark regularly. So I've been keeping on top of it, but the guardrail has to be crash rated for
Right.
cars when they hit it. They can't just slap any old piece on there.
Right.
But they're supposed to be coming tomorrow, looking at it, coming up with a solution and fixing it.
So
But
it's gonna have to be
Well,
one
it's
of
good
those
that they're-
impact dampening
I guess.
systems or something.
I mean, I just said to
At least
them-
we've gotten their attention and they are going to take. a
yeah, I
look
mean,
at
I
it,
told
which
them
is actually-
there's several hundred students coming back to school in a
Right.
week and a half,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be walking up and down that road. And I am not really worried about cars hitting the guardrail. I'm worried about kids walking in the people
Of
walking the
course,
road.
right.
So just in case you hear something about that, I mean, if nobody's contacted you, then probably
No.
won't. But
Look at that.
and the audit was started. I have a couple more things to get to John. He was here a day and a half and took everything and thinks most everything else he can do from his office. So that should be on its way. Delinquent taxes, I'll get I think I'm gonna have some that are not gonna pay, so we'll have a couple of them at least for the tax sale. I'll get a list of those for you guys the next time. But other than that.
And that next tax sale is scheduled for late in August sometime?
August 29th,
Right.
yeah.
The date on that.
Which is what, Friday?
I didn't know, I only got one copy of this town fair. Did you guys get
I
it?
saw it
Get it
electronic.
mailed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
Alright, so if anybody wants to go, let me know and we'll sign you up. I signed up for it this year. I haven't gone for a while, so I signed up for it. There's not a lot. I mean, I wanna go listen to the, public service board thing. That
Yeah.
was interesting, I thought, and there
Yeah.
was something else that, that's been, I'm gonna give you guys a copy. This is a letter from Tiffin about the lister position. She gave one to everybody, so I'm just gonna give you your copy now. I don't have anybody else that has submitted a letter yet. So that you can have for the next meeting. Warrants. I think there was something else I was supposed to tell you. I am gonna just to let you guys know, maybe if you guys can think about this, if something pops up, you can let me know, but, I went to a meeting on Monday. There was a few of us that were invited down to Wyndham Regional to be part of a discussion group of, shared services between municipalities. You know, coming up with what are services that could be shared, how could we, town save some money by sharing services. There was just a general discussion at this point, but we're gonna try to meet every month to talk about it.
And
This is presumably dispatch? Is that what that is?
Yes. No,
Southwest New Hampshire District, it must be.
yeah, yeah.
which towns, I mean, just specifically where? It's a Wyndham County?
Well, it's Wyndham
Or is it
Regional
Wyndham Regional?
yeah, but I think it can be, we talked about Massachusetts, we talked about New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm, right,
You know, I
right,
think
right,
it's
right,
just
so
I think it's more of a region.
Okay, right.
And
Yeah, no, I was just curious what the.
it was just as far as what services?
We're talking about
anything and everything?
I mean, they sent a survey out about a month ago, 2 months ago, to municipalities asking them what things they were interested in discussing with shared services. The biggest ones were large equipment purchases, or even small equipment. You know, if someone
Sort of
has
Right.
buying pool.
yeah,
Right,
or if someone has, you know, a street sweeper, then is there a possibility of leasing, you know, because we don't need it every day.
Right.
Somebody talked about roadside mowing.
right.
Yeah.
Look, a gravel cruncher.
You know, and then it went all the way
Yeah.
down to purchasing as a group all of our dog tags,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. You know, IT services. It was a gamut of it was everything.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Anything obvious come out of it or not
I
yet?
think what
Somebody's
was more,
gonna sift
I
through it.
think what came out of it for me was that we need an organized group of maybe not so much sharing services, but just sitting down and talking about how we each do it.
Yeah.
Because by the time we got done with the conversation, it was, there was town administrators there was one select board member there, a couple town managers, and it was more, well, we do this and we do this, and we were like, oh, well, what is, you know, so it was,
Mhm.
it was more, what I said to them,
Information sharing.
what would be helpful for me is when we go out to bid for something, like the painting or whatever, that there's a place where we can say, okay, these are the ones we've been to, these are the ones that have been used, instead of spending an hour on the phone calling each town manager and saying, or each administrator and saying, I know you just went through this, what did
Right.
you do?
What worked out?
Yeah, is there a place we can share that information instead of, because the amount of time we spend doing research as individual towns, there's a cost associated with that.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, and then it got down to the discussion of, you know, I know one of the hot topics and one of the most controversial topics is emergency services.
Yeah.
Right, right.
You know, fire departments, police departments, and ambulance.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, and, with fire departments
And
not
then,
having
you
a
know, you
lot
take
of,
it into a little bit
volunteers.
further, and, you know, like the tri-state area here is emergency service concerning like power, whatnot, power outages, things
Right.
like that. Suddenly you're dealing with 3 different jurisdictions within a very, basically small geographic area.
yeah,
The,
so, just keep
well, it
that in
sounds
mind.
interesting. And
Yeah, keep it in mind as something that if you have a,
just
you know,
one more meeting
a brainstorm of.
to bring you through, right?
I learn something every time I
Yeah.
go to those,
Well, that's
you
good.
know, even just talking with people, so, we'll keep plugging away on it.
Good.
I will have my contract for the next meeting, I'll try to send it out prior to the meeting, so there's not much change other than what we discussed about the term, but, so there'll probably be more on the agenda next time, so be ready.
We're gonna wanna talk about at some point is the BCA's decision to accept the recommendation of the state to, you know, revalue the property for TransCanada.
And did they make
I
a
thought you denied
recommendation
it.
as to the value?
Well, they recommended, there's a, no. Short answer to that is no. The sense, and this is a very, this is not a really straightforward, cut and dry,
Sure.
tax appeal situation. And the real crux of the issue comes down to the recommendation that came from a firm, an engineering consulting firm that worked for the state and provided the report that are basically the listers are following. That's the instructions they're following on valuation as to.
Yeah.
So that's, first of all, that's a little odd kind of sidestepping, the state sort of stepping not directly into it. They've hired this firm. The report's fairly interesting and fairly straightforward. TransCanada has not made, is in the process of making or attempting to make a deal with whatever number of towns there are up and down the river on either side in different situations and whatnot, when apparently both our neighbors, Westminster and Dummerston, have accepted TransCanada's sense of valuation on the property.
So I'm confused. I thought
The really low one?
The really low one.
I
No
thought
kidding.
that I was told by Anita that the BCA denied the appeal.
Yes.
Okay, so the value that's set in the grand list right now stands.
Right now, it stands.
Okay, so what is it that we or you?
I just think we need to be informed of this because I just want to know what's going to happen next. I mean, I'm making an assumption
That
that
they're going to
TransCanada
appeal
is they're going to appeal
the
this.
BCA decision.
Right.
Yeah, I
And that
agree.
we're going to, be at some point, we'll be heading to court.
Yeah, because I wonder if they'll skip over the state and just go directly to court.
Again, I
That's
just
the-
want us
okay.
to be,
Well, they
aware.
they may have a better bargaining ability with the state, I mean, I don't know whether, they may be able to arrive at a deal that, like Scott's saying, that we accept the recommendation of the state. If the state were to come back and say, this is what you should value it at, we
Right.
presumably would
right,
accept
whereas
that.
what we have now, I would call it rather more a recommendation that they've made through a consulting firm to listers on how to act.
Yeah.
Which is different than the state saying, do this.
This is what it should be
This is what it
valued
should
at.
be, and
Yeah.
they've left it rather obscured. And there's gonna be, I'm assuming, we'll say there's 50, 60 towns involved in this, that there's gonna be 60 different responses.
Well, because
The obvious ones where they have actual property or actual flooding situations, things
Right,
like that,
right.
are all fine and well.
I did say that the other day. I said, it seems kind of weird that the BCA
It's-
makes a decision, but it's based off of a value really the state gave. And then it can be appealed to the state. I
Right.
mean, I know there are two different
It's-
bodies. I know that the state appraiser is a different body than the one that gave us the
Right.
value, but that's when I learned that I think you can skip the state appeal and go directly to court.
Right,
I
so
agree.
it's gonna be a long road, but the
Yeah.
reality is that we're probably going to have a delinquent tax liability for a time
Several years.
ahead of
Yeah.
us.
You think they won't pay the bill?
You don't we're billing them on a million.
That would be- I think
No,
Okay.
and, well, I would guess that they would be advised by council not to
Not to
pay,
pay.
because if they pay on it, they're admitting its
Right.
value, kind of thing. I don't know.
And I don't,
Most
and they
people,
haven't
even if they're in the middle, that's the fight. What if it doesn't? Then you're racking up penalties.
Penalties.
right.
I mean, I would think a financial advisor would say, as long as you.
No, yeah, but a legal advice, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know.
Again, yeah, right, exactly.
That would surprise
And nor
me
did
if they
anyone
were
else
anyway.
here,
Yeah.
sitting here at the BCA. So it's sort of new ground, at least in my experience of tax appeal.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah, it is. It's
It's sort of too bad that
And,
Dummerston and
interesting.
Westminster.
I
Yes.
hadn't heard that. Who told you that?
Um,
I'll have
well,
to
the
find
listers said that first of all,
Yeah.
and.
I'll check that out. I'm gonna
within
call
the-
and
Oh,
find out.
absolutely, please.
Yeah, because
please.
I hadn't heard that they totally just went with that lower, that's a huge from, I mean, what they were
Oh,
asking
that's a
us to do
huge
was-
amount of money difference.
Yeah.
Well,
You're right, I mean, it's this, the gap, there's someplace in between there. I mean, I can understand TransCanada's argument to a point, you know.
Right,
There's
but that's
this
too big of a.
defining
that's a
what
huge
is the boundary project, as it were. You know, the project boundary, you know, what constitutes their land. And they don't really have any access to it to use it or anything else. They can, you know, it's really a
Well,
amorphous
they
piece
are
of property.
using it.
Yes, they are, exactly. They're using the flow, which has a valuation. And the ultimate argument on the BCA's point of view was, realistically, what would it take today to acquire all these rights?
If you
know,
were stepping in fresh, yeah.
starting this new.
Oh,
Right, imagine,
Yeah.
you know, given the
yeah,
regulatory
you're talking about
and
being in court, yeah.
indigenous nature of.
I'll do a little bit of research too to see where the court case is in that one up further. I can't remember if that was
Moore.
Heartland,
Heartland,
I don't know, one of those.
where's Moore, Vermont?
Westmore?
No, is it
No.
Westmore?
I don't know. I'll do a little bit of research and
I
see
read that
where
report
those are at,
6
just so we
times
can,
and-
for no other reason, just to know what's going on.
Well,
Right.
I also wonder,
This is really just, you know, heads up, but it's not going away.
I mean, when did you guys last do a townwide reappraisal? It wasn't that long ago.
In Westminster, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's some disparity between how it was appraised at this current time versus how you guys did it versus how Dummerston. Because,
Yeah,
you know, if
no.
for some reason they came up with a value of, you know, 110,000 and TransCanada said, well, it's really only worth 40,000, then they may have said, fine.
I think
you
the
know.
actual dispute is the actual amount of land that the BCA is contending that, you know, because the easement is on an entire piece of property, you know.
Right.
That it includes a much larger swath of property. Than,
What's the claimed acreage? do you know?
than it's about 20 acres is what TransCanada is saying. But what I guess
Yeah, see, if
you know, the
look
first
at
thing I
Westminster,
said is,
isn't- I don't think
I said the
there's
first thing,
acres
before
on it.
anybody, you know, we need to like, you know, I wanna see the map. Show me the map, show me the you know, show me the numbers here on this and where
Okay.
exactly all of this. Well, they had some information, but not, you know, a great deal. And the consultant for the state had, again, they had some information, but not a great deal. There's a mean level, water level, of like 220 point
Right.
something
Right.
above sea level.
Right.
Is the affected area of the easements. And they claim that that's only about 20 acres worth of property in Putney. And
Yeah,
that,
I don't.
They may be right.
they, again, you know, show me the map, prove it in
Right,
court.
exactly.
And
Was the person that was
However-
representing the state side helpful? Or, well, not the state
no,
side,
there
the
really
town.
was no state side. The only people, there was a guy here from the
From the company
from the company.
that
right.
valued it for the state to give the state, to
Exactly.
give numbers to our.
And,
to our
I mean,
list.
they were helpful, you know, in that,
Did their arguments? Well, yeah, I guess it's hard to say.
it's,
Well, I will do a little bit of research and see if I can just give some background and some information on what other towns have gone through with it.
right, I'm just, you know.
Which is okay, which I think is a good thing to know now that you guys have made an individual decision as a BCA. Now let's see what's going on out there and what the outcomes
Right.
are.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, there is an opportunity for the select board to do some type, I mean, if it gets to that. point where- Yeah,
Yeah, right.
so that, I mean, you
Right,
can
right.
waive the legal costs versus.
Oh, yeah, no, that we can go back, and
But
I think there is a
1.8 million down
middle
to
ground.
30,000 is quite a difference.
If it really is only 20 acres, then it would be hard to claim that it was,
Yeah.
1.8.
Unless you
I mean,
argue the point which I believe the consulting firm is, and maybe therefore is the direction the state would like to see us go in, is saying, what would this cost, in fact, to do?
Absolutely, yeah.
You
No,
know, and
very different.
Setting those boundaries, would they be set with that, you know, with that boundary project, the project boundary?
I mean,
That may be entirely different, and how do you know?
and the reality is, would you be able to push through a dam on the Connecticut River in this day and age? No chance.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Exactly. I mean, you get a better chance taking one down.
Yeah.
That would take almost as long.
yeah.
So, there's one that to add to the old business. It probably won't be going away for some time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Part of the deal.
Alright. I don't have any other news. Everything else is good news, isn't it?
I wouldn't say good, but not really.
News.
It's news. Most everything is good.
Can you explain to our TV audience what that whole thing was
Conversation was about?
Yeah, just to, so they can maybe follow along.
Yes, the Board of Civil Authority, which is the you know, who you appeal to for property taxes, was appealed to by the Trans-Canada Corporation, which is the people who in effect own the water rights to all the dams on the Connecticut River. And they're arguing the valuation of the riverfront property, in effect, in not merely Putney, but would be every town along the Connecticut River.
And essentially, they own an easement which is based on, in theory, the amount of water rise when they do releases from the dam. So there's a static level at which it's normal, and then when they open up Bellows Falls full on, the river level climbs X amount. So it's that difference. So that's what we were discussing about the value of the acreage versus
What gets covered and uncovered in this.
yeah.
And it's not, you know, so think about, it literally is virtually every town in Vermont and New Hampshire on the river.
That's on the river, yeah. Exactly.
Right. And I mean, this is the power company. They have now the water rights to those three dams, the
Yeah.
ones in the one up north, Vernon and Bellows Falls.
Yeah.
Bradford?
What's that now?
And even further, because this is all the way up.
I think there's more than three.
There's more than
Yeah.
three,
Yeah.
but
There's quite a few. There's all series of them.
Yeah, because this one town that's fighting it is up north.
oh, it's
North
yes,
of, yeah.
yeah,
So, I don't know,
that's right. There's a dam in Hanover.
yeah, somewhere.
Right there.
Yeah, I think there's quite a series of them.
I mean, and it's good because they're the new owners and it's a relicensing. You know, it's just setting the value on this property. And right now, we're quite far apart in what everybody thinks it is.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. Motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
We're out of here. Come on, we could go for record time.
Yeah. I think we'll do it if we leave now.
Just be prepared for the next one.
Okay.